So I believe we can start. Welcome everyone to the session. My name is Francesco Obino. I'm head of programs at the Global Development Network, and I'm very glad to be chairing today the finals of the most innovative development project competition on community-driven climate-related disaster risk reduction in rural areas. As many of you know, the MIDP Award, so the Most Innovative Development Project Award, is part of the Global Development Awards competition, which is GDN's longest standing program, thanks to the general support from the Ministry of Finance of the Government of Japan and the PHLD Trust Fund at the World Bank, which manages it. Over the years, we distributed over $4.2 million US dollars in research and project grants, and we reached to about 10,000 who took part in our competition. It's a very unique competition because it includes two different categories. One is a research category, and I'd like to invite everyone, of course, to join us in the next slot for the Outstanding Special Development Award final. And this is an implementation category, which is slightly unusual for GDN because, of course, our core business is research capacity building in social science for developing countries. But through this program, we dip our feet into implementation and working with NGOs on projects that have potential to pilot and scale up innovative initiatives, innovative approaches to addressing some of the most urgent development challenges, with an eye to benefiting the marginalized people. This is the mandate of the scope of the competition. The most innovative development project is a grant, is an award, but also a grant that actually is implemented with support from GDN. And the two first prize winners, and of course a second prize winner, but receives a smaller amount. The two first prize winners receive the same amount, and actually they compete after 12 months of implementation for a significantly larger grant, 10 times larger, so $200,000, to scale up the project they implemented in the first stage. This year, the theme of the competition changes every year. This year we align our themes to the Japan's ODA priorities, and under this category, we are looking for projects that build capacities at the grassroots level, including the poorest and most vulnerable communities in rural areas, in disaster preparedness and specifically risk identification and communication. This is the very last stage of a rather long and articulated selection process that vetted a number of projects. We had overall this year 110 submissions. That vets the projects against criteria that you see on the screen: innovativeness, clarity, social impact, expansion, replicability, scalability, feasibility, of course, and then the quality of the presentations during the finals, which is what we're doing now. And this last stage, we convene a jury of experts and both academics and practitioners that has a chance to interact with the finalists, ask questions, of course, after being present during the presentation of the projects. So today we have a three-people jury, and I'd like to introduce them briefly. We have Mrs. Loretta Hieber Girardet, who's Chief of Risk Knowledge, Monitoring and Capacity Development Branch, covering risk information and analytics, climate change, disaster loss and monitoring data, and capacity building for UNDRR globally. And previously, she served as Chief of UNDRR Asia Pacific Regional Office, covering 38 of the world's most disaster-prone countries. So welcome, Loretta. Very nice having you here. Then we have Masahiro Shoji, who's a professor at the Institute of Social Sciences at the University of Tokyo. He also serves as associate editor of the Social Science Japan Journal, and is a fellow of the Tokyo Center for Economic Research. His field of research is development economics, focusing on individual behavior before, during, and after natural disasters, social capital, social isolation, conformism, crime, formation of personality and preference, and commercial sex work and human trafficking. Welcome, Masahiro-san. And then we have Professor Saeid Eslamian, of course, last but not least, who graduated with a doctorate from the Department of Civil Engineering at the University of South Wales in Australia, and has been a full professor of environmental hydrology and water resource engineering in the Department of Water Engineering and at the Isfahan University of Technology since 2012. His research focuses mainly on statistical and environmental hydrology in a changing climate. He has been working on disaster risk reduction. So welcome to the jurors, and of course welcome to the finalists. And without further ado, I propose that we move on to the presentations. You'll see on the screen the 3 projects which are competing for under this category of the MIDP award. So one project from Kenya, one project from Rwanda, and one project from India. And India is the project we start from. So I'd like to introduce our speaker. Second, I've got information. So the project we're going to listen. It's going to be presented now. It's called the Clearer Air, Better Life Crop Residue Management Project, and it's a project that will be presented by Chandrakant Pradhan, who's a program lead for climate resilience at the Confederation of India Industry Foundation. Chandrakant, you have 15 minutes to present, after which we'll have about 15 minutes for questions and answers from the audience and, of course, from the jury before we pass on to the next finalist project. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Francesco. Thank you, Francesco, and good morning, everyone. Let me just upload my presentation. I hope it is visible.
No, we can't see it yet. It worked before, so it's going to work now as well.
Is it visible now?
No.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No problem. Just try one last time. Otherwise, we have a copy of your latest presentation. We can pick up on the screen.
I think is it visible?
Yes. Yes. Now, yes. If you go on slideshow mode, then we'll see the. Perfect. Off you go.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm Chandrakant Pradhan. I'm based in Delhi, India. I lead climate resilience initiatives at CII Foundation, and the project I'll be talking about is named Cleaner Air, Better Life. It's an effort to mitigate air pollution that is emerging from agriculture waste burning in North India. About CII Foundation, it's a charitable trust set up by Confederation of Indian Industry about a decade ago to work with marginalized community with the help of corporate sector. About my presentation, I'll be first dealing with the problem of air pollution and crop residue burning. Then I will introduce you to my project, and then I'll conclude with some of the reference to the policy implications of the initiative. If you come to Delhi now, or any time since for last 3 to 4 months during the winters, you will witness a massive escalation of air pollution. There will be a thick haze of smoke that engulfs most of the cities like Delhi, as well as other cities, as well as rural areas in the North India, which is also referred to as Indo-Gangetic airshed. And this happens due to various factors. The primary factor is that millions of farmers burn residual biomass as they harvest the main crop paddy and they go to the next crop, which is winter rice. And this the escalation of air pollution, it actually air becomes extremely hazardous. It crosses the safe limit of ambient air quality by more than 10, even 20 times sometimes. And this is a NASA picture. As you can see, it was taken in November 2016. And this shows the extent of farm fires in the region. There are many studies which have tried to deal with the socioeconomic problem of the farm fire. I will quote just one study which was released in 2019 by International Food Policy Research Institute. They found that crop residue burning in North India, it increases the acute respiratory infection among children in rural areas by 3 times. And the overall economic loss of the problem is a massive $1.5 billion, the direct economic and health costs. So why do farmers burn residual biomass? The primary reason is there is excessive biomass production, and this is happening because of two reasons. More and more the farming is becoming monoculture. From decades ago, farmers used to grow multiple crops, but now they are mostly growing rice and wheat, which are more remunerative. And also the rice and wheat crops are also, because of adoption of better farming practices, the yield is increasing. Also the biomass production is increasing, and the domestic use of biomass is also reducing as the cattle population is coming down, and the other domestic uses are also coming down. There is a massive amount of straw that is left behind by at harvesting when it is harvested through combine harvester, and farmers perceive biomass burning as a convenient, cost-effective, and time-saving operation as they are in a hurry to go to the next crop. And farmers mostly complain about lack of viable alternatives. Some of the environmental impacts on farm fires, it's actually double whammy. It releases enormous amount of greenhouse gases and air pollutants, and also it depletes essential nutrients from the soil and organic matter. In a way, it is actually deepening the agroecology fragility in the North India, which is dealing with multiple problems like water table decline, organic matter depletion, desertification. There is biodiversity loss, and all these are actually enhancing farmers' vulnerability to climate change and reducing their net return. Also, what is happening is that to control pollution, governments and courts are also bringing more and more penalties for the farmers, and this in a way is also enhancing farmers' vulnerability. So what the project is about, it's actually a community driven initiative that we have initiated since last 3 years, aiming to make villages free of crop residue burning practice through improved straw management as well as regenerative farming practices. It started in 2018 with a small pilot, and we are at this moment at a scale of phase, and we want to take the project to 1,000 villages. The key beneficiaries are the small and marginal farmers in the North India region. The overall objective is to make zero crop residue burning a farmer movement. That's where we think that the problem can be solved in its entirety. As I said before the project, we actually did extensive study of the problem, and a report was released along with Niti Aayog, which is the main think tank of Government of India. And in 2018, we tried a small pilot project in 19 villages, primarily to develop a model of field intervention that is community-led. And the pilot was very successful. Almost 75% of the farmers, they adopted better practices. And since then, we have been scaling up the project since last 3 years. And now we have reached a stage where we are working through 50 villages across Punjab and Haryana. Other than the on-ground intervention, we are also looking at we are also doing thorough research especially to understand what works with the farmers and what are the policy implications. And as I said at the beginning, the idea is to have a large partnership with industries as well as research universities, so that this problem can be solved at a multiple level. Uh, in 2018, when we went to the villages and we spoke to the farmers about how we can find a solution to the stubble burning problem, farmers were initially very pessimistic. They were saying that this is a very complex problem and there are economic issues involved, there are technical issues involved. We cannot, I think it is very difficult for us to solve the problem. It is for the government to actually solve the problem. So what we realized that there is a vicious cycle that is existing in the villages, because farmers they're burning stubble that in a way is actually ruining their agroecology. So their input cost is rising, and they are also, because of that, they are also suspicious of adopting any improved practices. From there we have come a long way, and all we have done this by bringing the community resources to the fore. So what we have done is we bring together villages to work in cluster, to work on the issue, to solve the issue, and this is done by basically jointly deciding on what solution will work for the village. This is, sociologists loosely call this thing a appreciative inquiry. So we have actually adopted that process. So our staff as well as volunteers go to villages, and we have multiple meetings with the farmer community. And through the village community champions, through the innovative farmers, through the progressive farmers, we try to bring different solutions that farmers can adopt to solve the problem. There was a massive problem of access to technology. So to deal with that, we established community tool banks which will support marginal and small farmers to access better technology. I'll deal with this component at a later stage. Also, we did engage the community in monitoring the pollution, because what we realized is that unless the community take the charge and they basically provide the monitoring and counseling to other farmers, it will be very difficult to solve the problem. So under the project, various activities that were introduced as an alternative to biomass burning. Primary main component was mechanized large-scale in situ recycling of biomass. So instead of burning the straw, farmers were actually advised and supported to recycle the straw in the soil itself, that eventually get decomposed in the soil. There are some issues related to how farmers can adopt technology to do that. The initial costs were prohibitive, and through the project we try to solve that. Also, we supported farmers to adopt different value addition, village level straw value addition programs, and additional interventions like agroforestry, biodiversity measures were also initiated. More recently, we are exploring carbon financing mechanism. So the community tool banks were basically, we provided a viability gap funding to farmer cooperatives, and from which small and marginal farmers adopted different machines to adopt straw management practices. So the program has evolved throughout the last 4 years. Initially, about 75% of the land become free of stubble burning, and the program result has also increased. I'll deal with this a little bit. As you can see in the left side graph, when we entered the project, we did a baseline study. So the red bar is the proportion of farmers who are burning stubble. So 90%, 97% of the farm area was under stubble burning. It has come down in subsequent years to almost 15 years. And similar is the case of villages which we adopted in subsequent years. About small and marginal, as you can see in this graph, the major challenge is to service the small and marginal farmers who actually comprise bulk of the farmers in Punjab and Haryana, almost 30% in Punjab and almost 70% in Haryana. The main impact of the program, it mitigates air pollution and carbon emission. There are also multiple ecosystem service benefits. And the farm tool bags that were promoted in the programs are sustainable economically. So as you can see, we have undertaken a detailed study, and there is massive amount of biomass saved, and that has pollution mitigation effect, as well as it adds essential nutrients in the soil. Anecdotally, we have also done the survey in the villages, and most of the farmers say that the improvement, there is a massive improvement in air quality in the villages. During a recent meeting in a village, I heard very two interesting anecdotes. One happy, another was slightly unhappy. The village school headmaster said that after the project was initiated, the attendance rate in the school has increased because less children are falling sick. And the village doctor said that after the project was initiated, his businesses has come down. There are many evidences of how the project has also improved farming outcomes, and it has improved farmers' resilience to climate change vulnerabilities. And there are few quotes from the farmers. Now farmers are feeling they're saying that it has helped them mitigate the weather fluctuations risks better, and it has also improved their yield. It has reduced the irrigation cost, and it has reduced chemical applications. Throughout during the project is becoming more cost efficient, and we need to increase fundraising to scale up the program to 1,000 villages. There are multiple partners who are part of this program. And most of the partners, they have good words to say about the program. So some of the learnings, as I say, eco-friendly practices, they have potential long-term benefits, but the initial costs are high. And it is critical to bring the better farmer advisory services, especially involving the community. And we want to scale up the program to 1,000 villages and mentor small and entrepreneurs. And also we are revising our program goals. After seeing the initial success, now we want to transform all these villages to full climate resilient villages. This year we are taking 2 villages as a pilot for this.
1 minute to go.
Hello?
Yes,
policy,
1 minute. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, so the policy implication of this, as we know, air pollution is a massive problem in India. Almost 14 of the most 20 polluted cities in India are in the world are located in India. It costs almost 3% of GDP. India has to find a way to solve the problem of air pollution. And this is closely linked to climate change as well. And projects like this, they offer multiple benefits. As you see in the villages, after the project was initiated, from a vicious cycle where farmers were talking about, they were so pessimistic, now there is a virtuous cycle. So farmers are adopting more and more innovative methods. They are buying machineries and modern tools on their own. They are helping other farmers. And this is exactly what we need to do. In a way, I mean, to looking at the massive issue of climate change and pollution, we need to harness community resources, their volunteerism, and we need to deploy low-cost technology solutions to enable communities to adapt to climate change. I wish to thank you for your patience, and look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Chandrakant. Thanks very much for the presentation. Now I'd like to turn to, of course, the audience. Anyone who's connected, please feel free to ask questions using the chat on your right. But first, I'd like to turn to the jury and ask questions and comments from them. Who would like to start? Loretta?
Sure.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for your excellent presentation. And there are many things I really like about this project, so congratulations. I have just a few questions. I was wondering whether or not this intervention has any sort of, let's say, desire to influence policy level decisions from either the Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Health. When we look at the longer term agricultural benefits or the longer term health impacts, it occurs to me that there may be some sort of advocacy component with the government structures to shift their policies or to find ways to support farmers more broadly in the efforts along the lines of what this project is promoting. And another question I had was about the private sector. I see that you have various donors or supporters of this project, and part of the project is to establish this community toolbox, which will allow farmers to access various tools. What is the engagement like with the private sector in this particular project, and how are they partnering with you? So thank you very much. Those are the questions I had.
Thank you, Loretta, for the excellent questions. On the policy intervention, so from the very beginning, we are partnering with Niti Aayog, which is the policy think tank of Government of India. And actually, my presentation was focused more on the field intervention, but on the side by side, we are also have an in-house research team which is also working on the policy issues, especially the learning that is emerging from the field. Especially there is a skepticism in the policy circles about how these kind of modern, the regenerative agriculture practices, sustainable practices, there is low adoption among farmers, and the policy intervention are struggling to find basically examples and way to deal with that problem. And that is exactly we are trying to deal here by basically bringing the learnings to the policy circles. And CI, from time to time, we give our policy recommendations to Niti Aayog, which is the government policy think tank, as well as other state government, as well as even to the Prime Minister, PMO. And also other thing is that we are working very closely with state agriculture universities. I showed in the stakeholders, they are key stakeholders in the program, and we take their advice, as well as they are also playing key role in basically taking the learnings to the policy, basically learnings that is emerging from the field to taking that learnings to the policy. And about the engagement of the private sector, so we are engaging the private sector in two ways. One is basically through corporate social responsibility. So what is happening is that primarily we are targeting small and marginal farmers who are usually devoid of most of these services. So through the funds raised from corporate social responsibility, we are able to bring the financial resources that will help the small and marginal farmers, like building community tool banks. This is one. The key intervention there is that we are also demonstrating to the private sector that this is a viable and sustainable project, which has demonstrable and basically many environmental goals which can be studied and which can be evaluated. Most of the times what happens, private sector, they don't understand the issues related to small and marginal farmers, how actually that can benefit the society. So one of the thing being an industry organization we are trying to do is that we are demonstrating that and bringing that knowledge to the private sector, so that more and more private sector players can collaborate and play a role in large environmental issues like climate change and air pollution. Other thing is also we are working with machine manufacturers and trying to bring more and more innovative tools which are low cost and which would help the small and marginal farmers. What happens is many of the technology solutions that are available, they are high cost, and small and marginal farmers are not able to actually take the benefit of that. And through the project, we are demonstrating low cost technology solutions. Technology, I mean machinery, as well as farming solutions, different farming solutions. And we are involving the private sector in that. And the long-term goal is that these will benefit small and marginal farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chandrakant. I'd like to move to the other jurors. Masahiro, would you like to come next?
Yes, sure. So thank you for a presentation. I really enjoyed it. But actually, I also have some concerns about the projects, especially because, it seems your projects relies on many volunteer workers. So it may be, it may have some problem when you extend the projects into the new regions, because, basically you don't know any local farmers in the new regions. It may be more difficult to find volunteer workers. That's one thing. And also, so basically the local farmers also don't know you, which means they may not trust your project, right? So that's why they may not uptake this new technology, even if it's really beneficial for them. So I just want to know how you want to address these issues. And another question is very quick. So I'm glad that you conducted impact evaluation, but I want to know how you estimated the impact. Did you do RCT or not, or something like that?
In 2-3 minutes, so that we have time also for the third juror. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So thank you, sir, for this excellent questions. On the volunteers, actually, what we are seeing is that youth, as well as the village, there are a lot of people who think good about the village. They need a platform so that they can also help other farmers. So what happens is farmers, they follow other farmers. They learn from other farmers and other people from the village. And what we are trying to do is, under the project, is we are trying to have a large network of farmers as well as youth who can play the role of a volunteer. So initially we build their capacity, we train them on how to reach out to the community, what are the technical aspects in partnership with agriculture university, and they help in basically changing the behavior. They play a very key role in the behavior change communication that we bring to the villages. And actually the community volunteers, they learn from each other. They are actually enormously networked, and on their own, what I was saying is that they are going to new areas and new villages, and they are spreading the word much faster than what actually professional staff like us can do. And that we are seeing as a great resource that is working for the project. When we will go to the new village, new area, actually we have to build some time on building trust, because this whole project is actually community driven, and a lot of it, the success outcome will depend on how you build the trust with the community, the rapport that can be built with the community. And unless actually many of the projects, they fail because of that, and we are actually mindful of that, and we spend considerable some time, significant time, in building the rapport with the community. uh, yes I
Evaluation.
I hope
There was a question on evaluation.
Yeah, impact evaluation. So, sir, we actually do a survey, annual survey of the result. Unfortunately, we take 10% samples of the farmers that we cover under the program, and we basically evaluate the data. Till now, we have not been able to undertake RCT trials, unfortunately, but that that we are working towards that. In future, maybe we will be able to do that. But till now, it's a simple survey that we do of 10% farmers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Saeid, would you like to comment next? Do you have any question?
Yes, thank you very much, Chandra, for your quick presentation. I have two questions. My first question is how much is the temperature increase in India during last century due to climate change? And my next question is, has crop residual burning an impact on temperature increase due to climate change or not? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Actually, there is significant temperature increase. I can't provide the exact data, but this is very regional actually. Very different regions in India have different actually temperature variability. But what we're seeing is that the weather pattern, including temperature and rainfall, that has become very fickle. Actually, there is no kind of consistency in that, and that is impacting the rural communities significantly, especially the farm sector, because farm sector depend on basically a pattern of rainfall and weather, and since that is becoming more very fickle, it's affecting farm sector a lot. Whether the crop residue burning, it increases the temperature, but there are no credible studies to actually do that. But anecdotally, it actually increases temperature in the villages that we visit. It increases, it creates a like layer of smoke that that becomes a huge problem. Like life comes to standstill for about 3 to 4 months during the North India region. It creates basically everything. Children are advised not to go outside the home. Schools are shut down for some period. Even trains comes late. There are a lot of accidents. So it has multiple social problem other than the environmental problem, and I think it needs large collaborative efforts to actually solve this problem, because the extent and the complexity of problem is large. It affects actually a large section, a large geographical area, as well as about millions of farmers, almost 400 to 500 millions people are affected by the problem.
What about the wind velocity? Wind velocity. What is the impact of wind velocity on the burning crop residual burning?
Yeah, that's a good question, sir. Actually, what happens is the region, the air pollution becomes more intense in winter season, is because of two things. One is temperature goes down, and wind velocity also comes down, and because of that, the smoke cannot be cleared, especially in the urban clusters where there are multiple other anthropogenic sources of air pollution. And by September, October, the temperature slightly comes down in India, and wind velocity also comes down. And because of that, the smoke that emerges from the farm fires as well as sources, it settles down for almost 5 to 6 months, especially in urban areas. And that is a climatic factors that actually impacts this problem. It intensifies the problem. Thank you for that question, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid we need to move to the next presentation, but thank you, Chandrakant, for presentation and for the answers to the questions. I'd like now to move to the second. I'd like to ask you to stop sharing your screen so the next person can share the screen. I'd like now to invite Paula White Naiga, who's program director at Dufatanye organization, to present the project Expansion of Villages of Hope in 2 villages in Nyanza district in Rwanda. Paula, the floor is yours. 15 minutes. You're muted. Paula, you're muted. Can you unmute yourself? You're still muted. If you go back to the Hopin kind of screen on your browser, you should be able to unmute yourself by clicking on the mic icon at the bottom. Unfortunately, I cannot unmute you from my side. No, we cannot hear you.
Then she needs to unmute herself. Paula. See the buttons below. See the buttons below.
Yeah. The button below It's not working. Yeah, you clicked and it's not working. Let me check with IT. Azar, are you still connected? Yeah. Can you see if it's an issue on the platform side? Paula doesn't seem able to unmute herself.
Paula. Okay, so just next to the second option from the left side, you will see a mic. Just click on that. Are you doing that? Not working.
I think she's doing, but it's not working.
Okay, so do one thing that. Yeah, it's working for me. So just try to rejoin or refresh the browser. So I think it should work.
Well, let's start then with Rahab first, perhaps, and so while Paula fixes this issue. Rahab, can you come switch on the video and the audio so we see if it works on your side? Yes. We'd like to go now. I mean, Rahab Mbochi is Resource Mobilization Manager at International Aid Services Kenya, and she's presenting the project Capacity Building of Local Community against climate change and improve livelihoods in the Tharaka North County of Kenya. Please present and then Paula will follow you.
Francesco, we've just lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes, okay. So let's just go back to Paula then. Can you hear me? There seems to be an issue with the platform. Paula, if you can share your screen, you can go, and then we'll follow the original plan.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry about that. Okay. I hope everyone can hear me now.
Yes.
Great. So, hello everyone. My name is Paula, and I'm the Programs Director at Dufatanye organization. I'm honored to take up the stage to take you through a journey of hope for our people and our planet through our Village of Hope program. I'll illustrate this to you by introducing to you our organization, innovation, our approach, impact, value proposition, and potential for scalability. But first, let's put this into context. Our planet is in a climate crisis because of deliberate and non-deliberate detrimental actions that we have taken up over centuries, like pollution and deforestation. So we thought, how about we start to make deliberate actions today to reverse, restore, and resurrect our planet? Our work is based in Rwanda, which is in East Africa. It is a landlocked country dominated by hills with a population of 12.9 million people. Given that it is a landlocked country with only 26,000 square kilometers, it had 441 inhabitants per square kilometer in 2015, ranking it as the country with the second highest population density in Africa. Hence, an unhealthy strain on the land and a climate problem. However, not all hope is lost. 73% of the land is cultivable. 82% of the population live in the villages, and 75% of Rwanda's labor force works in agriculture. The solution I present to you today addresses the mentioned challenges while maximizing the above opportunities. We are working towards reducing climate-related disaster risks in rural areas because these are the areas that are highly affected by climate change, like prolonged drought, malnutrition, and its related diseases. And yet, rural areas are clearly the backbone of our country and Africa as a whole. Therefore, this is where we are focusing our solution. We are working to empower our rural communities to nourish themselves and the planet. The Dufatanye organization is a non-profit, community-based organization located in Nyanza district in the southern province of Rwanda. We carry out several projects like food security, environment protection, education, and clean water accessibility, among others. Dufatanye is a Kinyarwanda term that translates to join together. And this is our culture code in our organization. We partner with like-minded individuals and organizations to achieve our mission, which is to combat malnutrition, poverty, and HIV/AIDS by focusing on vulnerable populations in areas with high malnutrition and extreme poverty. You may be wondering what poverty and malnutrition would look like in our criteria. So for us, malnourished and poor people are those who cannot afford to eat more than a meal a day, and they even grapple for this one meal. These are people who cannot afford basic health care and public education, and those who do not have any source of income. To give you a clear understanding, I will take you through the journey of Marceline. Marceline is a widow who lost her husband during the genocide. She had to flee from one place to another with 3 children in search for safety and nourishment. She found a state-established settlement for internally displaced persons where she was given a house to live in. With a roof over her head, she still lacked basic needs like food, access to clean water, and an income. Like many others in the settlement, she was isolated, traumatized, depressed, and hopeless. The land was dry, hard, and deserted due to civil unrest. It was believed to be uncultivable. There were scanty trees and prolonged droughts. The hunger was unbearable. She felt defeated. Luckily, the Dufatanye organization was in the neighborhood, so Marceline and 14 other peers of hers came to seek for help from the organization. After continuous one-off assistances, like providing her household with a few kilograms of beans, rice, and posho, and some emergency funds, it was evident that this was not sustainable for Marceline, her peers, and the organization. Another solution was needed. The Dufatanye organization gathered these 15 households and engaged them in conversations about their challenges, expectations, and possibilities for an improved life. They were skeptical at first about a bright future, but through agricultural training, trauma counseling, and lessons on irrigation and compost making, they began to pay close attention and see glimmers of hope. We showed and taught them how to have daily food supply and earn a living using their small pieces of land in their backyards. So we gave each of them 10 banana suckers, 3 fruit trees, 2 laying hens, and a kitchen garden with vegetable seeds. We taught them how to save in their groups, from the sale of their surplus to enable investments, lending in time of crisis, and availability of funds for a rainy day. From having infertile soils to harvesting high-quality yields all year round, other members in the village witnessed this transformation, and one by one, they joined the program. Eventually, we were working with the whole village, hence the Village of Hope. Since 2015, we currently work in 3 villages. The Village of Hope is an empowerment program. This has stemmed out of several years of learning and experiencing, which has made us know that the only way we can sustainably reduce climate-related disasters is by a holistic approach, which tackles social, economic, psychological, and physical well-being of the elements that highly affect our planet. These are people. Today, Marceline has 3 meals a day for her family. She saves a minimum of 200 Rwandan francs a week. Her children grew up healthy, and her grandchildren have not had to experience malnutrition and extreme poverty. She has expanded her project to incorporate more crops and poultry, and she is dedicated to empowering her community members and fellow women with skills and experiences she has gained over the years. Through many years of learning, we have developed a methodology for creating our villages of hope. Firstly, we identify the most vulnerable villages through consultations with district and village leaders, and then carry out preliminary assessments and interviews. We clearly define problems faced in each village, for example, infertile soils, limited annual rainfall, lack of safe water access, and so on, to develop a gap analysis to find out the best way forward. Secondly, We carry out capacity building trainings and mindset preparation. This includes training on proper land usage, compost manufacturing, drip irrigation, plus how to eat a balanced diet, among others. We then provide agricultural sources of income and nutrition like the bananas, laying hens, kitchen gardens, and fruit trees. Lastly, we carry out continuous assessments, trainings, and create savings groups. Our villages of hope have transformed from the first image of Marceline's environment to this. How amazing! And that's not all. Our results are measurable. We track them through clearly defined parameters like the numbers of trees planted and grown, the increase in household income, and increase in number of meals eaten per household, plus many more. Our environmental impact is amazing. Through trees, we are contributing to the environment in terms of rainfall formulation, windbreaks, and prevention of soil erosion. Let's do the math, shall we? We are planting 10 banana trees and 3 fruit trees in every household. These are 13 trees. And then we have 180 households in the village, which means 2,340 trees. Therefore, with the funding we hope to receive, we shall plant 4,680 trees. We shall reduce more carbon dioxide from our atmosphere. In terms of health, how cool is it that these bananas and fruit trees do not only provide nutrients for the earth and clear our skies, they also nourish the beneficiaries. The families also have daily food supply from the vegetables from their kitchen gardens and eggs from their laying hens, all in their backyards. This increases their immunity, reduces malnutrition, and lost productivity due to illnesses. We have witnessed more than 100% increase in household income, from saving 100 Rwandan francs per week to 200 Rwandan francs. Through the sale of the surplus of bananas, fruits, vegetables, and eggs, our beneficiaries can purchase clothing, other foods, basic utilities, and scholastic materials. We are also saving our environment through other innovative ways that are born from capacity and community building through our Village of Hope. For example, Marceline and a group of 10 women were inspired to start an association to fight climate change with support from the organization by turning waste materials into decorative ornaments that are sellable to nearby communities and tourists. These are made from recycling waste paper and plastic bottles. Also, through saving and investing together, the people build relationships and are accountable to each other. Another group of women, still with the help of the organization, have decided to make biodegradable sanitary pads from banana fiber to reduce period costs and lost productivity while protecting the environment. All this is the power of empowering communities. We need funding to create 2 more villages of hope. Our solution involves communities as partners and stakeholders, provides capacity building as a knowledge hub, builds ownership of projects, environment, and livelihood. We have learned that one-off assistance is not sustainable. We also learned that our beneficiaries want to be part of decision-making. In addition, training needs to be given in advance with regular leadership capacity building to ensure continuity and scalability. Therefore, we empower people to make them feel seen, heard, and valued so that they can do the same to our environment and build resilient, climate-friendly solutions. When the lockdown happened, our communities in the villages of hope had each other. They had food in their backyards and savings to draw from. Our beneficiaries testified to harvesting bananas, having constant vegetable supply, eggs, and fruits to eat. They even gave some to their neighbors. The effect was bad, but it could have been worse. However, what we witnessed in the other villages was heartbreaking. People were frail. Most of those who had moved to the town centers and the city to work lost their jobs and had to return to dry land, little to no savings, and hungry families grappling to reclaim lost time. And this confirmed to us what we already knew, that we need to expand our Village of Hope to the other regions and the rest of the country. Our vision is to create communities that are living in abundance and are benchmarks for health, environmentally friendly and sustainable communities, like this one. The principle is adaptable at local, regional, national, and multinational scale. In the next 2 years, we would like to create food banks in all our villages of hope, managed and owned by the communities, where they collect their surplus from their backyards and sell among themselves and to other communities. This will grant them local, regional, and international market access with more potential for innovation. Through our existing villages, we have proved that we can combat climate-related disasters and save our planet. Through research that we carried out, we have mapped our expansion plan to the whole of Rwanda by moving from the southern region where we are best to the western, the eastern region, Kigali region, and to the northern province. This research... Yes? Sorry?
1 minute to go.
Oh, thank you. This research has been born out of the criteria that we use in terms of agriculture, availability of agricultural land, agricultural households, and the poverty density. When empowered, we build resilience and preparation for potential disasters. Involving our rural communities as frontline actors in steering climate-related solutions will benefit us all. The Village of Hope is scalable, replicable, feasible, practical, and most importantly, effective for mitigating climate-related disasters in rural areas while nourishing our planet and our people. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Paula. I'd like to turn to the jurors for questions and comments. Who would like to start? Masahiro? Yes, of course. Can you please unmute yourself and go ahead?
So thank you for your presentation. It was very impressive. And I have 3 comments. And first of all, I'm afraid this project is basically subject to the risk of price change of the relief goods, like banana trees and chickens. And I want to know how you want to address this problem. Can you hear me? Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't hear the first question.
So your project may be subject to the risk of price fluctuation. You know that sometimes the banana tree price may increase and you can't afford it, right? And I want to know how you want to address it. This is the first comment. And the second is that, so basically this intervention can be beneficial only for a few villages, right? And I'm afraid that this may cause some negative impact on the relationship between the beneficiary and non-beneficiary villages, because the villagers in the non-beneficiary villages may feel unfair, right? Actually, it happened in Fukushima or South India after the tsunami. So I just want to know how you're going to address this problem. And finally, your interventions include a training session about the financial literacy, right? I'm curious, like how to save money, right? I'm just curious how to do it. That's it.
Great. Thank you very much for very, very interesting questions. So to answer the first question about the price fluctuations of like the banana trees and the other products, the one thing I did not say in my presentation is we have a demonstration farm that lies on over 2 hectares of land. So on this demonstration farm, we have the poultry, we have banana suckers as well, and we plant these so we can harvest from. It's also a buffer system for us, so that we can harvest from our farm and supply to the communities in case of any price fluctuations. Then also in terms of the chicken and the other products that we offer, like the fruit trees, we also have a nursery bed that we employ people also within the community to maintain and manage them, which also benefits them. It benefits the community in terms of income generation, like employment opportunities. Secondly, you talked about the issue of few villages being helped, and then the relationship that could be affected by the other villages that are non-beneficiaries. So one thing that we realized really was these other non-beneficiary communities decided to adopt. So when we went to do other assessments in the past quarters, we found that we had actually intervened in one community, one village, and then we found that 2 more villages that were surrounding them also had adopted the same practices that we had done, because the village leaders kept coming to us and saying, could you please come and also work with our communities? But then we kept saying, we don't have funding at the moment and whatnot. But then they were like, okay, so what can we do in the meantime? We advised them. And when we went back to see, we saw people had actually started creating their own versions of kitchen gardens. They had also talked with the other people in the communities, and they were getting some of the products like the chicken from them and rearing as well, and also banana suckers. So for those whose banana suckers had grown, they could harvest the little ones and give to the rest of to their friends in the neighboring communities. So this has not been a big problem, a big challenge for us. Instead, it has been adapted by other communities. Then the last question was about the training about financial literacy. We usually, after we have given these people the agricultural products, the chicken and the banana, we also have these training sessions with them about money. So we just get them talking about money, and what we get to know, what are their feelings around it, what do they think money can be used for, and we usually get very interesting answers. So in that process of conversation, we bring them on board and start telling them about saving, and then getting to know their fears about going to the banks and whatnot, and then create a community for them. And because they're already grouped in their villages, already grouped in small groups, we use that to our advantage. And we create, through this small group, we're like, okay, can we have a treasurer? Can we have the president and whatnot of this small savings group? And they meet each week, at least once a day, every week, to collect these savings and then plan as a group on what to do with the money at the end of the year as a group, and also individually in their households. So it's a continuous conversation with them.
Thank you, Paula. We have Loretta. We have 5 more minutes for discussion. Please. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you very much, Paula, for your presentation. I thought it was a very dynamic way of presenting your project, so thank you for that. No, you presented quite a multifaceted development program aimed at alleviating poverty. But I'm wondering, can you pull out a little bit more what you see as really the greatest impact of this approach in terms of climate change and DRR, disaster risk reduction, which is very much the theme of the prize. And also, I was interested what you were just saying, that other villages are trying to adopt some of these practices, but it seems that an important component of your project is the provision of commodities such as chickens or banana trees. So in the absence of those villages receiving these inputs, I'm quite interested to know how sustainable is this project in villages, or how successful this project would be in villages that are not receiving this important component of your project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So to start with the climate change. So our project is, it really involves, it's all about community and our environment. So through planting these trees, just like I mentioned in my presentation, we are already combating climate change through planting trees. So in a way, we are doing reforestation, but not just reforestation in the country. We are also enabling people to be able to eat from these trees. And then, so it's a win-win for everyone. And you find that it's at a minimal cost because we do not have to remove, like section another piece of land for this process, but we're actually using the available land in our communities. Also, we find that the chicken that are being reared they give fertilizers for our compost when we are working on the run. So we are doing organic. It becomes an organic kind of process. So this all helps to save our planet, and it just goes as a whole round process. It's a circle of climate protection and human beings. And we feel like when we invest in human beings, we're also investing in our climate, because when we transform their mindsets, then they can protect the climate better than the environment. And then the other question was about the other communities not being able to attain the other. So when we looked at that, so our communities, the ones that are morphing indirectly from this process, at least have been able to gain the vegetables that they have received from their neighbors. And this is why we really need funding for this project, because we want to reach these people. We want to impact them. They're already willing, and we are also interested in doing it. So we need funding for this to reach them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Saeid, would like to come in?
Yeah, thank you very much, Paula, for your nice presentation. I have a few questions. My first question is, which period your country was your wet period? You know, we have drought period and wet period. And my question is, what about climate change impact on recent drought period? And my third question is, what about deficit irrigation in your country? Do you use deficit irrigation in agriculture or not?
Thank you very much. I'm not sure I understood the first two questions, but I'm guessing it's relating to the dry season in our country. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So usually our dry season is from May to September. So we have about 5 months of no rain. And this over the years has been a very big problem, because we didn't have trees, we didn't have, people investing in the environment as much as we are doing right now. And we have realized that in the communities that we're in, for example, this year, in the dry season, these 5 months, we actually had rainfall. We were not, the land was not as dry as it was like 3 years ago. So there's a significant improvement compared to where we were before, which is really great. And then the other question was about the irrigation. So we use drip irrigation because it is our most affordable kind of irrigation right now, and it is easier to train to our farmers. So we train them how to use the cans, and then just use the drip irrigation for their farms. But we hope to innovate more in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you very much. And I think I don't see questions from the audience, so I think we'll move to the third presentation. Thanks again, Paula. So the first project is, as I was saying earlier, sorry, Rahab, for the change of plan. So the change of plan will be presented by Rahab Mbochi, Resource Mobilization Manager at the International Aid Services Kenya. The project is titled "Capacity Building of Local Community Against Climate Change and Improve Livelihoods" in Tharaka North County in Kenya. I don't see Rahab on the screen, in fact. Let me just check if she's still connected in the audience. Rahab, are you? Can you share again your screen and come back onto the main screen? If you can hear us, since you're still in the audience. or perhaps reconnect if you're having issues. Oh.
Hello.
Yes, Azad. We
Yes,
just
fine.
lost one of the finalists. So Rahab seems to be in the audience, so probably she can hear us, but she's not on the main screen anymore.
Let me check that. I think she is not in the panel, right?
She's not on the main screen, but she's in the audience, and she was still.
Okay, 1 minute. Let me check. Just I'm requesting to join the panel.
Apologies, everyone. Let's just try to see if Rahab can reconnect. I've had a couple of mine. Oh, yes. If you can hear, can you just share your audio and video? There's the blue button on the top right of the screen where you see us. And if you don't see it, can you just refresh the browser and come back? Oh, here you are. Yeah. Okay, we see you again. We hear you. So please feel free to put up your presentation and start. Thank you. 15 minutes.
You can see? You can see my screen?
Yes, I think you shared your entire screen. Or you can just share the PowerPoint because we see other things on your screen. Maybe you want to start the slideshow and it'll be better.
That is better?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Oh, great. Good morning. Sorry for the internet hiccup. My name is Rahab Mbochi. I work with International Aid Services, an NGO that is registered here in Kenya. I work under the unit of resource mobilization, and these are some of our social media pages. Kindly feel free to interact with us even after the presentation or after this podium. So International Aid Services basically works in different counties. The ones that are marked in dark blue are the counties that we are currently operating in. And the counties that are marked in light blue are the counties that we hope to start working in the near future, according to our strategic plan 2020-2024. So you find that most of these counties are actually arid and semi-arid counties that we've been working in. And our mission is to empower communities through the promotion of access to education, sustainable livelihood, environmental stewardship, and human rights. And our vision is a world where communities are empowered to live dignified lives. So these are our focus area. Sometimes we call them the strategic thematic areas. And one of them is the integrated water and resource management. We have inclusive education, where we ensure that children living with disabilities or children facing barriers to learning are able to access education, they are retained, and even this transition to a higher learning level. We also have resilience and disaster risk reduction, which is the purpose where we're here, civil society development and humanitarian intervention. Then we have the mainstreaming, cross-cutting issues. These are issues that cut across all the thematic areas. These are issues like female genital mutilation, there's early marriages, there's gender-based violence, and others. So today we'll be presenting under the category of community-driven, climate-related disaster risk reduction in rural areas. Our title is Capacity Building of Local Communities Against Climate Change and Improved Livelihood in Tharaka North County in Kenya. So basically, this is a photo of a part of Tharaka North County, which is an area that we work in. And yes, Tharaka North is in Kenya, a very, very rural place. And I say rural area because very, very rural because they lack most of the basic infrastructure. The area also experiences long spells of drought and very low rainfall. And most people in this area actually depend on agriculture to sustain their livelihood. And because of the low rainfall and the drought that is experienced in the area, you find that as the picture shown here, there is a lot of issues of crop failure. Crop failure is actually experienced most of the time. And because of the reliability of rainfall, you find that when crops fail, then the people here tend to try and get something else to work on to get some source of income. There's a lot of charcoal burning. You find there's crushing of the small stones to the ones that are used for building, and also sand harvesting. This is actually one of the rivers where a lot of sand is harvested. I've indicated it's one of the 9 permanent rivers. And actually it was a permanent river, but only 7 years ago. And the situation has since changed. It has now changed to a seasonal river. And probably this is one example to show that actually, guys, climate change is real. And due to the to trying and getting some other sources of income, there's a lot of negative environmental impacts to the environment. And there's a lot of wasteful water, there's soil erosion and degradation, a lot of pollution, climate change, and even human-wildlife conflict. So a research that had been conducted in the area actually showed that the soils in this area have the capacity to sustain agriculture production if irrigated. So it's not that the area is completely dry and completely valueless. So the objective of this project is to increase the capacity of Kenya cereal producers, the members, and also the general communities on issues of governance, advocacy, human rights, and also sustainable management of natural resources in order to develop resilience against climate change and also have improved livelihood. The reason why we chose the Kenya cereal producers, number one, it's an umbrella group of 19 groups of different women groups, youth groups, CBOs that have come together for a common goal. And we are not only looking at issues of resilience and climate change, we're trying to look at issues that are holistic, because if you look at only climate change and there's still issues of governance, then you tend to fail. If issues of advocacy and human rights are also not well looked into, then the project does not kick off well. So the project objectives is to ensure that, number one, we have knowledge, the community has knowledge on issues of crop diversity. We have improved food security because the irrigation or the water harvesting systems that we are introducing are dependable as opposed to rain-fed agriculture, and then looking into mitigating the negative effects of climate change through promotion of rainwater harvesting techniques. And then there's the introduction of animal fodder production, just to ensure that we reduce overgrazing. We mentioned that we're also looking at animal, and this is also part of looking at a holistic system so that we are not only looking at food, because livestock is also part of the livelihood. So far, these are some of the achievements. I know we've not mentioned all of them. There are many, but these are some of the ones that came out strongly. Number one, we have environmental clubs established in primary schools in Tharaka North. We have members of KCP that have basic knowledge on rainwater harvesting techniques. And we had an exposure visit where IAS staff, some government officials, and even the farmers went to just learn and see what other communities are working on. And then we had vulnerable community members benefit from 4 pilot water pans that were excavated and are now in use. And we have the 50 farmers capacity built and are now practicing farming, improved farming methods. And on the improved farming methods, we've now had a lot of diversity in terms of crops. What used to happen, even with the low rainfall, we had we used to have farmers planting mainly sorghum, millet, and green grams. But now you find the area that we're working in has a lot of fruit trees. We have passion, we have pawpaws, we have mangoes, oranges. We even have vegetables. We have kales, spinach, watermelons, just to mention but a few. So in terms of crop diversity and looking at issues of nutrition, the area has been introduced to quite a lot. The other thing is that the farmers are now able to use the Zypist and moist pist just to ensure that there's moisture conservation for quality and good crop production. And then 5 groups have access and now practicing modern farming techniques. And we've also set up a demo farm just to showcase the different types of crops and methods. And because I had mentioned this area is very rural and some of the people come from very far, so we got one central place that they can always come learn and also share ideas together with the rest of the farmers. This is one of the Zypists that I have just mentioned about in our demo farm. And they also take turns to ensure that they are watered using the waters in the water pans. This is just an example of the demo farm that we set up. IAS Kenya has actually been working in partnership with the government and both at the national and the field level. And at the field level, we're looking into working, we are part of the CSG, which is a county steering group. And in this county steering group, it's actually convened by the National Drought Management Authority, which is a government body, but brings together both governmental and governmental organization. It's a forum that we keep each other accountable and also share lessons learned. So this is some of the benefits. We get some of the different ministries to come and share technical knowledge with our farmers. Another learning day with the farmers. You can see the turnout is quite large. Well, large is a bit relative, but this just to show you how it normally works. You can see this photo is a different contradiction from the first photo, that community resilience can actually be achieved if we get water and if communities are trained to be able to understand. These are water pan that is used for just to showcase. This is for community learning, but what has happened is that we've been able to replicate these water pans. The community experience has been number one. The project has had very high impact in terms of further development. We are looking into not only implementing in this area, but even in other arid and semi-arid counties. We've also invested in a lot of knowledge, skills, and also resources. And as I had mentioned, that it is looking at a holistic point of view. So there's also issues of advocacy that have come to play so that there's continuity even after the project. We've also had, this project has also been, it's household self-driven replication. The idea was to have only 4 water pans, but we've had 40. The community members came together, had their own point of way. They formed like merry-go-rounds and started going round and digging the water pans for themselves. This is just a photo showing how they came together. So you group yourself in people, in like 20 people, and then we do the first one, the second one, and then at the end of the day, we all have 20 water pans. So that was very, very exciting for us. And the fact that they are all now able to have crops within their farms. This is another photo showing how groups can actually, there can be community-driven projects and that relate to climate change, that mitigate issues of climate change. So I think one of the best things that we've had from this project is that most of the farmers, some of the farmers were telling us they never knew that food can actually grow in that area during the dry season. They didn't know that some of the fruits or vegetables that we've introduced can actually grow in these areas. So as a result of this project, I've mentioned that we've had different water pans. This is just to show you some of the water pans. They come in different sizes and shapes. This is one of them. And another one, these are all self-support, just to ensure that they have some form of water in their homestead. And these are some of the high yield crops that we've been having now in the area, and not only looking at the nutritional value that these villagers are able to have, and there's also the economic empowerment, because they are able to sell to the market after they consume for the household. So that has also been very, very encouraging. These are some of the food that is taken to the household. Some of the fruit trees that I also had mentioned. And I think for us, this has been our gospel of truth, which we've also come to learn as we also implement that plants don't need rain to grow, they actually need water. We've done a very interesting video on our website. There's a lady there who I had her mention, because of the water pan, she's actually increased, her weight has increased from 30-something to actually 50-something, because of she's now reduced significantly the distance she has to go and fetch water. So I would encourage you to interact with us, and yeah, thank you very much, and over to you.
I believe Francesco just had a little hiccup, but he will join us very shortly, I believe.
Okay.
Otherwise, Loretta or Masahiro, would you like to address any questions in the meantime?
Sure. Thank you very much for your presentation. And we all know that drought is really one of the great impacts of a warming climate, and initiatives to reduce the impact on rural communities are really important. Now, I guess my question is that using especially the water pans component of your project is being done by multiple organizations throughout Kenya. And I was just wondering, are you collaborating with other organizations throughout the country? Because I do know of other NGOs working on similar projects. And can you tell us a little bit more about the scalability of the project, what you envisage for it?
Thank you, Loretta. On issues of partnership, I've mentioned that we actually part of the county steering group. And this actually enables us as stakeholders to avoid duplication. But what we've also learned is that with the government also has quite a number of resources. And also when it comes to the design and what can actually work in the area, because we noticed when we did the first water pan, the soils are actually very, very porous. So it's been also lessons, learning a lot of lessons for us. And then the fact that the other organizations are also able to present in the county steering group. So we are able to know, number one, to avoid duplication. And then the other thing is also to share lessons learned in terms of the designs and what is working for other communities. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then in terms of scalability, I've mentioned that the fact that the project is actually community driven. There's a lot of demand for it. A lot of people did not know that this can actually happen in the area. So scalability for us is not an issue, because there's a lot of demand. If the communities are able to get the right education, just to know that this water can be stored, how can we harvest water, rainwater, instead of letting it all go to waste. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Apologies, it was my turn to have a connectivity issue. I don't know if you can hear me now, but yes. Masahiro, I think you wanted to come in. Please come.
Yeah, sure. So thank you for your presentation. It was very clear and I got to learn a lot. So I have two questions, mainly about the effectiveness of the project. And first of all, the water pan is kind of common resource owned by the community members, right? So in that case, in order to maintain the water pans, like cleaning the water paths or something like that, you have to develop the social capital of the community members, right? So how are you gonna do it in the new community? And that's one first question. And the second question is related. How will you choose the location of constructing the water pan in the village? I'm asking because the benefits from the pans should depend on the distance between the residence and the water pans, right? So if you construct the water pans in the wrong place, it may cause some negative impact on the community, like conflict, right? That's it. Can you hear me?
I lost you a bit.
Yeah. Which part? Should I explain?
You were mentioning about the location.
Yeah. So I want to know how you're going to choose the location of constructing the water pans. If you construct in the wrong place, it may cause a conflict between village members.
So thank you, Masahiro. The first question on issues of effectiveness and social chapter. I've mentioned that we are actually working with a group. This is to avoid, we do not want to bring any harm in the community, because this is an already formed outfit. They already have their goals. They're already working onto something similar. Then it becomes very easy to implement such. And the first water projects we did, they were supposed to be shared within the community. But you can see that through the learnings of what we implemented, there was a lot of ripple effect that we no longer have the shared now water pans. They're being implemented at the homestead level. And I think the beauty about when you have community-driven approaches and where there's demand, the initial plan was that they will share. But then they even came up with their own plan where they form like a merry-go-round, and that was completely not planned for. They form a merry-go-round and they decide we want to each have a water pan. Everyone wants to have a water pan in their area. So that was very interesting for us, that actually these communities have their own methodologies of ensuring that things work. So that has been a very critical component. And we also have a memorandum of understanding when we're starting the projects, just to avoid conflict. Everyone's role is very clear on who will use the water, how, when, and everything is well stipulated in the memorandum of understanding. Then on issue of the location, how we choose the location. Number one, we are guided by the strategic plan. IAS Kenya has a strategic plan, 2020-2024. So the areas that we target to reach out to are already in our strategic plan. And then I don't know whether you are mentioning in terms of the countrywide or in the area where we move to. But in the area, we already have Tharaka North and Tharaka South. And we already know, by the way, just to mention that this was actually informed by a research. There was a research that we conducted. We had an independent consultant who conducted the research just to get a better understanding on issues of resilience. What are the needs? How do we approach this? And the recommendations that were given in the research project are what we've been following to even ensure that the communities are served. Thank you. I don't know whether I've answered you, Masahiro.
I mean, actually, I was talking about the location within the village.
Within the village. So what we normally do, because KCP has more than 400 members, they get to choose they know the area that is most underserved. So they get to choose, and it's well stipulated even in the memorandum of understanding. And actually, even when writing the proposal, they are involved from the initial plan. That is how we get to choose. So actually, it is the group that gets to lead us where the need is actually the most felt. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Saeid, would you like to come in? I don't know if you can hear us. Some of us, many of us seem to have to be having connectivity issues.
Yeah.
Yes. So I notified our IT team, but I'm not sure they will be able to. So I think Saeid is disconnected. Oh, here he is back. Can you hear us? Yes.
How percent of Kenya area have rain-fed agriculture?
Prof, can you please pardon me? Prof, can you please pardon me?
I think we might need to really hear. There seem to be major.
Probably, Francesco, did you hear the question?
No, I didn't hear. I just heard something about rain-fed agriculture, but I'm not sure. I can make up the rest of the question.
All right.
Saeid, if you can just, if you're still connected, can you just write the question in the chat? I think that might work.
Francesco, if may I, actually, I think Professor Saeid is facing some bandwidth issue. So I request him to stop the video and just enable the mic only. So that will be easy to hear, I think.
Should we also turn off the video? No.
We turn off?
No. Just requesting to Professor only, because I think he is facing some bandwidth issue. That's why.
Okay.
I repeat my question. How percent of Kenya have rain-fed agriculture? You hear me, Rahab?
No, unfortunately, no, Prof. We keep losing you.
How percent of Kenya area have rain-fed agriculture?
Oh, how many percent of Kenya? I'm actually not sure how much we have in the total in Kenya that relies on rain-fed agriculture, but I know that 80% of the rural areas, all rural areas, actually depend on rain-fed agriculture.
Yeah, and what is your main irrigation method? What is your main irrigation method?
So what we've been doing, Prof, is we've been using the water pans, and in areas where there's one area that has a river that is permanent. So we've also done some gravity irrigation for farmers.
Yes.
But I think for this particular area, we've done the water pumps and using the money-making pump just to ensure that we make work easier for the farmers.
Yes. Do you have wind erosion? Wind erosion? Do you have? Wind
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you,
Yes,
Ram.
yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Saeed, as well. Sorry for the technical problems. So thank you to all 3 finalists. Now the jury will meet, and just for the jurors, you received a link for a meeting in your email. We'll switch to Zoom to avoid any connectivity issues. So thanks again to all the finalists. I'd like to invite all of you to, of course, join us on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Central European Time. Please check the agenda for your own time zone. So tomorrow for the announcement of the winners.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Francesco.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Thank you.